Oh my God, we're here. Welcome to A Competitive Advantage. It is Colin and Noah. Hi, Noah. How are you?
Hey, Colin. How are you? I'm good.
Oh my God. I am alive, but it was touch and go. But I have survived. I am the only one more tired than me is Gus, my dog. He has been around everyone for a long time. And like he got up this morning and he's like, "Why are you awake?" And I pet him for a little bit and then he went back to bed. He's not interested in hanging out with me. Anywho, I will tell an update on what's been going on with me a little later in the show, but it's been insane. Noah, what's been going on with you?
It has also been pretty insane. It's mostly been around work. But also my wife got hurt a couple weeks ago.
No.
She has like a chronic back thing that sometimes can be exacerbated, but when it gets bad, she like literally can't walk. So my wife has been unable to walk for like 2 weeks. She just got her ability to walk back in the last 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been like, and then I also had like a work trip right at the beginning of me, right before it got bad. So I've been like, so 3 weeks ago, I left and went to Vegas for a work trip. And those work trips are like, I'm up in the morning at 7 and I'll go to bed till 1 because of work. And so I'm
you're paying at least some attention to what you're saying and how you're behaving the entire time, like more so than a gaming event. And I think that's important for people that think, oh, well, that sounds fun. Sort of. It's work networking, which is a very specific thing.
Yeah, and a lot of it was also like I was actively hosting for like sales for a company, so I'm like also like talking technical and I was definitely doing boring things over 5-star food. You know what I'm saying? Like yes,
yeah, yep.
But
well, and it's intellectually tiring in a similar way to a 40K tournament, in my opinion.
100%. I see them pretty much the same. When I got back, I went directly into being full-time dad, full-time working, full-time single parent, and caretaking for my wife. I've been doing that for like the last 2+ weeks, nonstop. And it's just now to the point where like I got to think about 40K for the first time yesterday. But on that note, I am still going to Challengers Cup. I had several people. That's the other thing is I felt like the universe was conspiring to like keep me away from my hobby. We had some roster changed up for our team on for Challengers Cup because some of our mains, at least one of them can't go because of moving stuff. But we had alternates that are already set up within the team. So that got figured out pretty quickly, but it felt like it was trying not to happen. And then I'm just like
myself. I could have gone.
It's still not off the table, man.
Okay. I don't have responsibilities in the same way that I once did.
That's accurate statement now. And then the last thing is the thing that's kind of been hard is I don't really like the meta, and most of my team who I like playing with and spending time with also is not very excited about the meta. So my team is kind of feeling like a little disengaged, which means there's less engagement for me because I like feed off a group, I connect and I rally that group and together we do the thing. And I also haven't done this podcast in a couple of weeks. So like I effectively have just been like forcibly wrenched and then also somewhat deterred and then just like actively not allowed to engage with my hobby for like 3 weeks.
Your team gets to use one of my very favorite words that doesn't get used often enough, disenfranchised.
Yes.
It's a great word. So, what's funny? If the listeners want to get the best competitive knowledge possible, right, from the people that are absolutely at the front line, they should listen to the 25-year-olds who play 40K full time. But if they want to hear competitive analysis and how to handle 40K from people that might just have to real life for 3 weeks, which is if it's for the people that have kids and responsibilities and other things that are trying to make this work with work, then that's a different vibe. And I think that's a real vibe as well. I think that's part of why Best in Faction was successful.
I 100% agree. I like playing this game, and I like being competitive. And one of the things I like to do is go to the World Team Championship.
Mhm.
And I like to go to that. Didn't get to go this year. And then I like to go to the World Championship for singles. Last 2 years I had a ticket. This year we're getting kind of close, and I still do not have a ticket. The number of events that are options for me to actually physically go to that will have a ticket are getting rapidly very small.
Mhm.
And so I kind of had to like have I had to have like an inner talk with like inside Noah about like, you lost your job this year in April. Before that, the work was not good. There was a bunch of other health things going on for the family. So you like the season was kind of doomed from the start. Plus, like all these other things then happened, and you started a new job that basically allowed for zero extra time. I had to like basically like, it's okay that this season that you wanted to be your season, because like if you rewind all the way back before I applied to Team America, this season was supposed to be the season I go, like the season like I did things, and then I didn't make Team America, and I did exceedingly poor at singles because I took a list I wasn't prepared to play, and then all of these other things I did okay at uh, uh, LVO, but other than LVO, this season has been like a kick in the penis quite a lot. Or like I won best overall at Storm, and then they called me and said, "Oops, never mind, you actually took second."
Yeah.
Right. So like I've had a pretty rough season in terms of like not achieving what I wanted to, and things
Yeah.
just kind of going sideways. And so I really had to like be like, you're an adult. The main thing is to make the money, to do the thing. Right now, the season didn't go the way you wanted. So I'm actually in the process of deciding, like, am I going to attack next year with like a fervor and be like, hey, we're going to do it this time. This is the season we're going to do it. Or am I going to recalibrate the way that I want to interact with 40K going into next year?
Yeah. Yep. Man, I relate to so much of that. When you get to a point where your performance is at a high level, it becomes harder to stay at the same level and keep yourself happy. So you could literally not get a golden ticket and it could not be your fault. Like the way 40K tournaments are now, you could have just had like 2 opportunities where you were going to be a top table and something stupid happened in both cases and you tried your best, but it is what it is.
Right.
Like it's the same thing as, oh, well, I'm only happy if I go top 8 at Tacoma. Well, okay, what path are you going to take on the way there? Are you going to run into something that hard counters your army? Are you going to play the best player there and not do well? Are you going to mess something up? Do all those things mean that you're no longer a player capable of top 8 Tacoma every time? Of course they don't. They mean that time you didn't do it. And it's been very hard for me to adjust to that. And for me, what did it is going to, well, your tournaments, Noah, after being out of tournaments for so long and hearing people in the room say, oh, well, Colin's one of the best players here. Well, I don't feel like that. I haven't felt like that in a long time. But other people see me that way. And the reason they see me that way is that I play the game really well. And I'm an adult. I'm an adult about it, right? I don't gloat. I don't throw a fit anymore. I used to. And I think that people understand who you are and understand what your existence is in 40K, and their opinion of you doesn't change just because you don't go to the thing. So that was really hard for me, Noah. Like that was exceptionally hard. It bounced right off of the people aren't going to like me if I don't win at 40K, which is adjacent to the more toxic. people won't listen to me if I don't win at 40K.
Mhm.
I actually think that one's worse because that one just makes you want to be louder. So this is something I've thought a lot about, and my desire to make content that isn't all competitively focused is a desire for me to broaden how I enjoy 40K and say, this is an incredible thing that I'm really good at, but I need to have satisfaction and fulfillment even if I can't go to the tournament that I want to go to, even if I don't have an opportunity. What if I just want to play Eldar when Eldar aren't good? Is that okay? Of course it's okay. Does it mean I'm a bad player? Of course not. So there's a bunch of stuff like that. That's how I feel about it now.
Yeah. I would say I think you and I relate to this game differently, but I think this is the same. We're experiencing very similar things in our own way. That's like I think your exploration of that's probably good for you. Just like I think me having to think about prioritization
Mm-hmm.
is good for me.
Yeah.
Um, do you uh, okay, so do you also have like I keep seeing events that I kind of like am trying to like shoehorn myself into being able to go to, trying to like do all the mental gymnastics to make it okay
Mm-hmm.
that I go,
Yep.
even though like several of them I'm like, nah, I can't actually do that.
You know what's really a bad habit that I got into was looking at local tournaments and thinking, damn it, I'm better than all these people. Why didn't I go to this? That was not a good. I did that. That was a thing. It was like a special version of FOMO where I felt was not only did I fear missing out, I felt I like a it's like a FOO, fear of winning out, fear of missing winning. I don't know, which is silly because you don't know that, and like you don't know everyone at the tournament, and you don't know what armies people are like. It's so arrogant. It's a special level of arrogant that I
Yeah,
left work my way past.
at at Tacoma, I played against a local guy who I've seen around but I've never played. And when I went up to the table, I think in my head, I initially was like something I think was telling me in my head that maybe I was better than this person. And then they were really good and they kicked the shit out of me.
Uh huh. Yep.
And and what I realized is that like even though if I have even if I had performed better than that person at other events, that person very obviously brought a list that was tailored for the meta, had been getting all their reps in. They had just won like a couple RTTs back to back and like, that kind of thing. That person had put in more work than I did. Right.
Yep.
So regardless of like what standing I, might have had at another event compared to them or whatever, I had things conspire where I just didn't have enough time to get enough reps in.
Yep.
And I felt it at the higher levels. Like I won a bunch of games. And then I started playing the people who had like basically Donald Plummer and this other guy, and I lost out to this other guy and then Donald Plummer right after, and then I won the rest of my games. But like I definitely had Icarus time, right? Like I was like I'm doing so well, I'm doing good, still really good at this game. I didn't even have that many reps for this event, and then Melty Wings death, and then kind of recalibrated, got back on it,
There's an
but
interesting thing that Chuck talks about that he saw with a bunch of so at the end of seventh, the team that Chuck was leading was one of the better teams in the game. And going at the start of eighth, they were for a little while they were the top WTC team, but they were one of the better teams. And what Chuck saw was a massive decline of the team as I came into 40K. And what Chuck identified is that he had all of these people that had put the time in for seventh edition, and they were experts at seventh edition because they had played it so much, and they considered themselves one of the best at the games because they had been beating people at seventh edition. They went into eighth edition and they wanted to still have the same level of competency, but they hadn't put the time in. And one of the things Chuck talks about is that there's people that expect to stay dominant without putting the time in, that the time they put in originally is somehow magically enough.
which I honestly think it drives people to become cheaters sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. I put the time in. I should be this good. Yeah. 100% agree. Okay.
I mean, like, if I've spent some time with TJ Lanigan since his thing, right? Like we've played once or twice, and we've been side by side a bunch of events. We've hung out and ate dinner at a couple of events, and him and some other people will tell you that, like, at some point you get this mental thing in your head that's like, I should beat you, right? And then your brain just starts making situations where you beat them, right? Like your identity is now so attached to like an outcome of reality that I can't actually be 100% considered, like, dependent on, that
Right.
you start to like almost subconsciously just try to like make it happen, like just
Right.
nudge it in the right direction.
Right. Let's go to the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think that everything I want to talk about, it goes into one of those.
Okay.
So let's start with the good, and we'll just do our WTC coverage under the good, because I think that the WTC is one of the most important things. And I think that it is a beacon of positivity and happiness. And I think that everyone who goes says it's the best event. But aside from all of that, at a time where the world is insane, boy, do I love that all of these countries of people got together and played Toy Soldiers together. Like, that's lovely. With the stuff in Ukraine and the drama, it's like there's stuff around the world. This is so awful, but like, France and Poland, and everybody's like, let's go play 40K for the weekend, right? I think that's great. And we've talked a lot about the importance of team tournaments and how they change 40K for a meaningfully good thing. And so it's all wonderful. And we're going to be honest, neither of us paid enough attention to cover WTC at a high level competitive analysis. I want to talk a little bit about
I can talk a little bit about the ups and downs of the weekend and some cool stuff, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't know what WTC is, that's surprising. If you want to know in very specific detail what happened, I'm sure the other shows like Art of War and Stat Check, who had people there, will have lots to talk about. I want to talk about it a little bit as the existence of WTC, and then we'll cover some other topics. But Noah has disappeared. So there's that.
I mean, sorry, I was pulling up on my other screen.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is so interesting about the WTC is that, in my opinion, and I've not researched, maybe this is wrong, but I've always presumed that the reason why America gets so many medals in the Olympics is that we're drawing from a huge percentage of people, and also we're the country that people want to come to train to do the Olympics. People want to come here to go to college. So like, we gather the best people in the world, and then they either go compete for their country or compete for us, but we have so many people to draw from that it's still incredible. And we've got the resources and the culture to train for it. So one of the things about WTC that I think is fascinating is I think there is an argument that America should win a lot, because we're pulling from players across 400, 300 and whatever million people. England is pulling from a tenth as many people as us. Canada is pulling from a tenth as many people as us. I don't know how many people in Poland there are, but I'm going to guess that a tenth is about right. So like, these countries, Noah, wreck at WTC, and yet they're pulling from a small amount of people. And I think that, comparatively small amount of people. And I think that that is incredibly cool. So I just wanted to toss that out. That it's not just a who has the most resource to pull from, right? Who has the most magic cards to select for their tournament magic deck, right? It's not just that.
I'm actually of the opinion that I think smaller countries have a better chance of being much better at 40K. And not just smaller countries in terms of like, I don't just mean smaller countries in terms of like number of people, but countries where the like physical space is less so. Because like, for instance, if you're in like mainland UK, it is really easy to get to every major and GT across mainland UK and Scotland and Ireland, right? Like, it's really easy to do that. Like, the cost is relatively low, whatever. And the reason it's important is because essentially, like, all the best players in England are playing each other all the time.
Mhm.
France all the players in France are essentially playing each other all the time because there's a much smaller physical space and a smaller number of events. All the very best players in Germany are playing. It's larger, but it's not as large as the US, right? So it's like this, and also the ability to travel domestically inside of European countries is significantly easier with like their established train systems and all that kind of stuff. And then so you look at like the teams that are really, 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 really good, right?
Right.
You look at so France, Germany, Poland, England. There's these they're great, and a lot of them are on or have a easier way to travel across their space and interact. And so the best players are playing the best players more often. If you look at the US and Canada, we have some really amazing players, and US and Canada did good this year. But the best players in the world, the best players in the US, are taken from a geographical state, a geographical size, many, many times any of these other countries. And they're selected from a very large pool of a lot of people who statistically look similar, right? So you're looking at like, let's say, top 100 from ELO or something, right? The top 50 of ELO statistically look pretty similar, right? Like the variances aren't, the win percentage variances aren't that huge, but just because you're in 50th in ELO doesn't necessarily mean you can be better for a specific team composition or with a specific army when it comes down. I also think that those teams spend a lot more physical time together in each other's presence, whereas the US is almost entirely remote other than the practice weekends. And I think that's one of the reasons I think being a bigger country, though we have a larger potential pool, I think our pool is less concentrated, less refined, and the people who end up being those representatives spend less time directly engaged with people of similar skill set.
Yeah, I'll just throw in at the end there that our country also doesn't play WTC terrain.
Yeah,
no. If we were going to tournaments all year long that were on WTC terrain, we would be better at WTC. That's just a flat, easy sentence. Like that's just how the world works.
My argument there though is that with, for instance, like in Team Canada, they get, every one of those starters probably has 100 games of 40K underneath their belt on WTC terrain, right? So like they're still playing WTC, they're just not playing it at events, which I guess might have some impact, but I don't think it's as relevant.
Okay, all right. So who won WTC, Noah?
So France, I think now they are one of 3 or 4 countries to ever back-to-back the WTC. So they've hit a very small club, like it's Poland, maybe
I thought Australia won last year. Was that 2 years ago?
Australia did not win last year.
Okay.
Last year was France. They had really amazing last year. That was like a pretty crazy run. This year, Belgium was the team that was like, there was a moment where a lot of people thought just Belgium was just going to just like win out for the rest of the weekend. Wow. Belgium has such a small, super concentrated team that includes some of the best players in the entire world. Like a good portion of them are just like on the Belgian team. And they're just really, the Belgian team is really good at adjusting their play mid-round based on communication. I would say that France is another team that is incredibly good at adjusting the play. They're really good at making sure also that their games are kind of like staged, where they have some games, certain players playing certain armies that the games are going to progress much further than some other armies. And so because of that, they're able to say, okay, I'm going to go check with these people how they're doing. That gives us early signal. Now I can tell before it gets too late, these other teams where the game is going to develop much slower, hey, I need you to push. Saying you need someone to push when they're in round 4 isn't that helpful sometimes. But you have a team of like, let's say some people who are like nice players, custodians players, whatever, who are in games their games are going to progress really quickly. You can get signal in the first, like what is everyone else's first 2 rounds, or 3 rounds on like what the score is actually developing towards. Which then lets players say, well, let's coaches say, okay, hey, it's round 3. You need to just put everything on the line and go for a major win or a major loss, because a major win is the only thing that's going to get us, keep us in the thing. Or hey, we're really stable, chill, right?
Yeah.
That kind of coordination is, I think, where some of like the difference for like a normal 40K player of being like an X and 1 player and being a major winning player, I think is like little micro changes, little tiny things. And I think the same is like you have a bunch of really good WTC teams, and then the teams that get to the really minute like things about throttling during the round and pairing.
Mhm.
So France won; they did excellent. Germany came in second. US came in third. There was a moment. So US had a loss to France, I believe, and there was a moment though where we had the shot at, even with a loss, of taking the event, and um, it was kind of amazing what gave us the shot. This is one of the reasons I think I love 40K. This one might be good. Is that a round came down to that was if it was a tie, we had no shot at podium at all, but we had a podium if we won that round. And it came down to Folger Piles was timed out on the table. He was the last remaining game. He had timed out at the top, I think, of 4. He had to watch his opponent play his opponent's 2 full turns without interaction with him, right?
Mhm.
And the U.S. won the round by exactly 1 point.
Oh.
Yeah, we pulled in 86 when we needed to pull, and that's what we needed to pull. And there was a moment where the calculation said that it was a tie, and they redid the calcs and it was still a tie. And then they counted them one more time and realized that they literally missed a single point. The judges were tallying this, not the players. So like the judges were like actively, calculating. And then so Folger thought it just didn't work out. He was like really down on himself. You can see he literally crouched down, held his face and was trying to chill. And then when it happened, I watched him because they were on stream. You just see him just wave of relief, and then a
Mhm.
lot of hugging. And suddenly, just like that, the U.S. went from no chance at podium, watching it slip away, to it works in this. It was just a dead sprint for the end. Meanwhile, there was a super tense game between France and Poland that basically decided positioning. Germany had an outstanding run all weekend. I watched a couple of their games; they were super good. They had a sportsmanship moment that I thought was really amazing, where there was a huge go back that would have completely changed the part of the game, and it would be right to give the go back. And it would also be completely in the person's right to not give the go back. And he gave it regardless. What didn't even consider it, even like him and Ha or show any regret. Just did it. The game moved on, never talked again, and it was outstanding sportsmanship.
Yeah. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about, and we only have 24 more minutes. So
Okay, sorry.
no, we're good. I just want to comment that there was one other thing I saw at WTC that you and I have talked about that I think is important. If you look at the scores of US's tie with Poland, one of the best teams, right, is Poland. If you look at their tie with Poland and you look at the scores, every game is close. 12-8, 11-9, 10-10, 11-9, right? And even if you're looking at that and it looks like America won all the games, that doesn't work. You can't pair everybody into close wins. Not that they did. I have no idea how they paired. I'm not in Team America. But the mistake we often made when I do 8-person pairings is you pair the people to win a close one, and I'm not sure that that's what they did. But you paired it to win the close one, and then the problem is if a bunch of people want a close one and you also lose some close ones, well, all you've done is tied. You need 10 points somewhere, right? You need them in order to actually have a win. So I thought that was an interesting observation.
Yeah, they came up a couple times. There's a couple of things I watched on War Games Live where at least one was like they actually lost all of their games, but they got 3-20-0s. But they lost all their other games. So they lost 5 rounds. They won 3 rounds. The other 5 rounds were relatively close, but losses. But they still won the round because they had 3 absolute blowouts.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the new Votan models are also the good for me. I think Votan's sweet. The codex looks super cool, and I'm very stoked. I'm going to play some dwarves next season.
Let's put bad and ugly together. I'm going to give a special shout out for my buddy Chuck, who just 2 weekends ago told me, I don't like how a lot of my armies play. I'm going to get rid of some of them. I never like how chaos rules are. What I love is how Votan plays, so I'm going to focus on Votan. And GW is like, hee, we completely rewrote the Votan rules, and they're not at all what you expect. Hee. So we'll try to I'd like to get Chuck on to talk about that, because I think that's a really important thing that happens. I really like the way this plays. I have competency with this. I've learned this. GW has decided that it's completely different. I think that's a really good story for us to check in on.
For what it's worth, and I agree, but for what it's worth, I think Chuck is going to end up really liking Votan because I think they kept some of the spirit of what you're trying to do and made it much more interesting.
Okay. Well, he is currently, I said, are you currently excited or annoyed? He said, well, I'm trying to push past the annoyed. And it could be like when you're painting something and you have to push past the ugly, which is one of my favorite phrases, right? You get to a phase of your paint and you're like, oh, this is really terrible. And you just have to believe in yourself that washes and highlights and everything will save the thing. Noah doesn't know this life because Noah's too good of a hobbyist, but the rest of us.
I actually have a deep emotional response to the ugly stage of my models, which happens a lot. And because I don't have a lot of I have produced good looking armies, but a lot of the time when I'm doing a thing with an army, it's the first time I'm doing it. And now it's less so, but for a lot of my armies, it's me trying a new thing and then trying to standardize on it. So there's a big learning curve in the middle of building an army for me where I'm like, I hate this. I hate this so much.
Sometimes I'll stop and base things. I'll like these things better if they have bases. Let's put bases on them. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to do a special shout out that the meta is ugly.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
I looked at the data this morning, and shout out to the guy that does Meta Monday. One of the things that he put together is that since the Death Guard Codex came out, they have won 23% of the events, which is a lot, frankly. And even this weekend, I think they won everything that wasn't WTC of any note.
Yeah.
Let's look at this again real quickly, but I skimmed this before we got on. So Lone Star Open, they were the two. There's actually a lot of undefeateds at Lone Star Open, but they were the top two. And then they won the singles, right? Virulent won the singles event at WTC as well. So the two biggest singles events of the weekend, Death Guard's like, yeah, whatever. I'll just win both of those. Ain't nothing. So dumb. I think that they're good in a way that's awful, right? They're good in a way that's not fun to play against and very frustrating for your opponent. It feels like they just have too much stuff. It shoots too hard. It's just too durable. You know what I mean? Though, it's just wrong. It's
everything. Wrong. So for me, it's that they do everything just a little too good, but it's the problem is the amount of that it's a little too good is not honestly that much, but it's across everything. So it's they have a little too much mobility for their for whatever because of the deep strike at 6 and blow drones. They shoot slightly better than they should because of the rerolls. They have a bunch of great defensive strats, so they're a little more. But when you're a little better at not dying and a little better at moving than you should be and a little better at shooting than you should be, it becomes inexorable, which is kind of, I guess, is on theme for Death Guard, but it's
It's
not.
even better than disenfranchised for those that are paying attention.
But it's like you just, even if you think you're like in the game, you're just basically being always ground out. And it's very similar, in my opinion, the way that GSC was good is that when GSC was really good this edition, you felt like you were playing the game for like a good portion of the game because you were like killing models or doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in Death Guard, you feel like you're playing the game because about the first 2.5 turns, you get to like take a presence on the board and move around and do things. And then all the death strat arrive and the shooting gets closer. And now the game goes drastically in the other direction. And you feel it slip away and then you lose by like 20 points.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, Chaos Knights and Real Knights, they're still winning, but they're not winning nearly as much as they were at like the Tacoma Open level because that's an army you can adjust for.
Uh-huh.
The problem is kind of elite power armor army with a mix of hulls and infantry is not something you skew into. You can't. There's no way to build an army that just kills that because it's intentionally take all comers kind of diverse build. You could skew into beating hammer because it's mostly hulls, but it is it's rough. I definitely think they need to be tuned down, and I definitely think Death Guard and Challenger cards are my ugly. Challenger cards are probably the worst thing to happen to 40K since 8th edition, right? 7th edition, any of the editions. Terrible. Challenger cards are probably one of the most toxic things, and I thought they were going to be great. The reason they're so toxic is they shit on every aspect of competitive 40K, right? So they punish you for winning.
Yep.
They give your opponent an extra mini game that is outside of the actual play of the game, which is keep your points a little low so you can get challenger cards in the first beginning of the game, and then launch yourself into good positions. It's kind of like when player place was a thing. They're incredibly bad for differential scoring because they keep differential scoring so much closer that like ties happen a lot more.
Uh-huh.
So they skew the game significantly there. And if you win on the back of a challenger card, you feel like a piece of garbage. And if you lose on the back of a challenger card, you feel like your opponent is a piece of garbage.
Awesome.
It's my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left. I'm going to talk about this more next week.
Okay.
I have just gone through the worst 2 weeks of my life. I'm not exaggerating. I want to be clear that no one has died. Everyone is healthy. So I want to be clear that I am not putting this against my grandmother dying, right? I'm not making that comparison because I don't think that that's a fair comparison. So aside from someone I love dying, this is the worst 2 weeks I've ever had. It was way more expensive than I thought, way more emotionally taxing than I thought. It was really hard on my dog, who got very, very unhappy for a few days that I wasn't expecting. My house closed a week late. I bounced checks to the movers. Like, it was just bad. Oh, the money from selling my house didn't appear in my account when it was supposed to. Escrow said yesterday, the money's in your account. I went to my account and said, you want to bet? It's not there. So if you've ever had a significant amount of money that's supposed to be in your bank account and it's not, that wasn't my favorite experience. It arrived at 1 o'clock this morning. I know because I was not asleep. Funny enough, I called the bank and said, is this going to show up randomly during the night? And they're like, no, we don't see it coming. And I called escrow and they're like, yeah, we already sent it out. Here's the federal transaction ID for. And so I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, yeah, Bank of America totally might just show up in the middle of the night. So I went to sleep. So anyways, so it was rough to be. I missed my kids. I missed my other 2 dogs. I missed my ex. I live by myself. It's just really weird. And the financial outcome was different than I expected it to be. It's worse. So I'm in a situation now where I've got some debt left and I have to decide, like, what am I going to do? How is this all going to work? I'm going to do that this week, and I'm going to come with the new plan for everything next week for what's going to happen. But what I wanted to talk about was one of the worst things that happened is that I discovered that I'm a hoarder.
Oh, no.
And I discovered that my ex is a bigger hoarder than me. And I want to be clear. I know that hoarding is a very serious mental thing, and there are hoarder TV shows. That's not what we're talking about. We didn't have 100 old newspapers stacked next to our bed or anything. But my ex and I both have the sort of neurospicy where when we're unhappy, we're pushed to spend money to make ourselves happy. We both have that.
Mhm.
Do you have that, Noah?
I do.
Okay. Very toxic. When I was a kid, my dad, who's bipolar, didn't know how to show affection. He still doesn't really understand kids. He talks to my kids like they're 55 years old. Like, well, what are you reading? Is it interesting? Like, no, it's not. So I think that he kind of taught me that you use financial things to show people you care about them. And for the 10 years I was with my ex and my kids, I just kept buying crap, plastic crap, 40K, Pokemon cards, D&D, whatever. Okay. Meanwhile, my ex is buying every crafting item in mankind, every paint, every fabric, every device, every type of doing crafting. And on top of all of this, she's addicted to Christmas decorations. So we have 5 Christmas trees. So we have this huge house we've lived in for a long time, and we've just been taking stuff. I've been taking 40K and just squirreling it into the garage. She's been taking craft stuff and putting it into the house. So we go through and we pack up all the stuff we care about, and we start moving it. We move Stephanie off to her home. We get me packed and ready to go. I start selling things. I sell furniture. I sell 40K. I sell DVDs. I sell everything I can sell for weeks. Made thousands of dollars to go towards moving expenses. It was great. Okay. We got to a point where we had a week before we had to go, and we looked at what was left, and we said, we have a massive amount to donate. And a lot of people will tell you Goodwill will come get your stuff. No, they won't. Salvation Army will come get your stuff. No, they won't. If you want your stuff to be picked up, you have to pay that you got junk people. And I struggled significantly with, do I dumpster everything and save money? Or do I spend a bunch of money to make sure this stuff doesn't go to landfill and gets reused? What a terrible, awful, horrible American thing that is. Mm-hmm. It made me sick to my effing stomach. I spent thousands of dollars to make sure that the crap that we threw away could go to other families, rather than just trashing it. Bicycles, furniture, stuff like that. So we hire the You Got Junk people. They come. It's $1,000. Boo. They leave. We still have a lot of stuff left. We start moving. Everything doesn't get moved. We move further. Everything doesn't get moved. I have friends come and help me pick up 40K and move it. Still not done. I rent a 10-foot U-Haul truck on the final day I'm supposed to be in the house. I'm loading it up. I barely make it fit. I have a 2-car garage downstairs in a 1,500 square foot townhouse that is full of crap, and a lot of it's 40K. I think that previous to this experience, people had envy over the Warhammer garage. I had basically a 4 garage bay garage full of 40K. My stuff was all over it. My models were everywhere. I had trained for many tables. I have off of game tables. I can run 40K. And I want to tell you all that having moved and having thought about where my life is going and how I want to prioritize my time, I am very unhappy with past me. I do not think that there's any reason why I should own as much 40K as I do, period, end of story. I don't think there's any reason my wife and I should have owned as much crap as we did. It was awful. And the fact that no matter what I did, that cursed house kept vomiting crap at me that had to be dealt with. Moving trucks, you got junk trucks, donations, Facebook Marketplace, 40K swap meet. Doesn't matter. Do all you want. Your house is still just going to vomit up crap until you literally your soul is broken. So I wanted to share this experience with everybody so that you can look at your collection and think, if I had to move, how bad is this? I think that's a great question to ask yourself. Another question to ask yourself is, how much money am I spending on 40K? I think that's a great, especially as the models get more and more expensive, I think that's a great question to ask yourself. Chuck and I had a very real conversation about that we both have a desire to collect less armies, in part because 40K is getting more and more expensive all the time. When we talked about this, though, when those ridiculously cool Dark Angels models came out with the 2-handed swords, mm-hmm. The inner city brothel, no, the inner council, inner circle,
Brotherhood companions or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And you need 6 of them, and they are $180 or $160 for the 6 of them. That's when my desire to collect all the things broke permanently and for good. So, like, one of the things that I've been talking about with a lot of people is, how many 40K armies do I need to own? I want to have something to play that's different. I want variety. I want something that's competitive when I want it to be competitive, but I'm never going to play my GSC again. I'm just not going to. I don't like them enough, and I don't own all the right things. And I'm never going to play Tyranids again, because I'm missing, from any competitive list, I'm missing 70%. Because I bought all my Tyranids collections before all the new models existed. So I just wanted to shout out that I am in a place where I'm upset with myself for how much crap I gathered. I was just massively financially penalized for it, moving and junk moving. I can't put my car in my garage, and I can't find things like plates because of how messed up the garage is from all this stuff. So you don't win for having the most stuff. It doesn't matter to have 40K stuff you're never going to get to. This is my message to the people. It is simply not. Oh, it's not going to work out, right? That closet full of shame is just going to continue being a closet full of shame unless you do something about it. So I encourage everyone to do something about their 40K collection. I think what I'm considering doing is selling my Space Marines and my GSC. I've already started selling everything for my Tyranids that I didn't paint. But I'm thinking I'm going to keep Elves, Guard, because my Guard collection is massive and I love it, and it's old, super old metal stuff. So, like, Guard, which I may never play again, but I'm going to keep anyways. The Marines that I painted purple, and Elves. And I'm going to sell GSC and the entirety of my Space Marine collection, other than the stuff I've painted. That's where I'm at right now. Just as a, let's get some cash, let's cut down on how much stuff I have. So I thought I would share that story because it was awful, and I was upset at myself for a bunch of it. So I thought maybe other people could relate.
It's good that you share that, because I think as a group of neurospicy, socially, weird people, that I think there are a lot of pitfalls to fall into shame, and shame to drive things like insecurity and concerns and worries. And I think a lot of the time I feel like also people look at people who are successful in certain areas of a thing and kind of expect that means that everything is easy for that person, and might kind of believe that they are on an island when they're dealing with a problem. But the simple fact is, like, I haven't met any humans who aren't messed up yet. Every human I met has major problems and issues.
Yep.
And things. It's just a matter of how close to the surface those problems are, and if those problems are things that are, culturally acceptable, normalized,
Yep.
and also if you like the person or not, right? So I think you sharing that's really good.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. Depending on where you are in the country, pot smoking is considered absolutely terrible and the worst thing ever compared to alcoholism. Like, just a thing. That's just a cultural thing that Noah's making an example of. There are parts of the country where I would be accepted if I was a functional alcoholic, but the fact that I smoke pot at night would not be okay. Like, there's that sort of opinions that just happen, that are culturally raised that way. When I was in my 20s and people would move out here from around the country, they were surprised that people in their 20s weren't married here. I don't know if this is true anymore, but it used to be that people on the West Coast got married later than people in the rest of the country, and it was just a cultural thing that happened. It actually had something to do with the education disparity of some of that, but I just think that stuff like that's really interesting, because you get used to what stuff is okay and what stuff is not, and to some degree, it's just what you're used to. And I got used to it being okay that because I could have a lot of space, I could have a lot of stuff, but I don't want to have a lot of stuff. It's not important to me. And it was hard for me to figure that out. And I figured it out.
Yeah, I think that's right.
What would it take? How bad is it for Noah if Noah has to move 40K? Are they packed up? Because you have all these armies. How are they stored?
I mean, they're all stored. I have 6 10-foot long, 4-foot deep shelves that they're all just kind of neatly stacked on. And then I have a couple, I have a couple bins, and then I have one large bin of sprues, and then I have a couple boxes that have unpainted stuff that's folded up and stuffed under. So, like, as far as like the act of like taking down and packing the 40K, it's all kind of in one spot and relatively easy to do. There is quite a lot of it. If I had to downsize the house I lived in, there would be a real likelihood that I would need a storage unit or to get rid of a large amount of my 40K.
Yeah.
And then I have a bunch of things like I have like a big hobby cool thing. I have like, several big work tables. I have a bunch of stuff,
Boxes and
but
boxes of paint.
right. I it would be probably, I would say that like the amount of moving that a couple with their first apartment does when they move out of their first apartment is probably the moving just my game room.
Yep. And that's how I felt. By the way, for those that are wondering, I had to make the decision to bury the tall 40K table. The tall game table that everyone has made a joke about at every charity hammer, I just simply couldn't justify having. And so we shattered it. We broke it to pieces in the parking lot and sent it to the dump. That's the sort of decisions that had to be made, and it was sad. Noah, do you have a meeting in 1 minute?
I don't today.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk for another 5 minutes or so then.
Yeah. Normally I have my therapy is tomorrow instead of today. Normally my therapy is right at 8 o'clock. And so actually I have about 10 to 15 minutes that I can talk for.
Yeah, let's just talk for another 5 or 10 minutes, just to not have that be the last thing we talk about.
Um,
So I do want to share that I do want to make 40K content full time. I do not know if I'm financially set up to do it anymore. So I am going to decide this week what that looks like. Can I still do it? If I do, what does that business model look like? How quickly can I get there? Do I need to go back to my career in sales? So I'll be deciding that this week. And next week's show, I will tell you guys what's happening and where I'm going and what I'm going to do. I don't see myself stopping making 40K content, but I might rebalance it and try to get a day job. I don't want to do that, but it might just be what I have to do. If you're independently wealthy and would like me to make 40K content, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to do whatever you'd like. My morals on this issue are iffy, so kind of whatever you want. That was a joke. So that's just what's going on with me. It's really, really hard. I didn't know until yesterday that would be the case. And between that and the money missing, I haven't actually had time to think about it. So I'm just being open and vulnerable. I don't know that I can do the thing I want to do anymore. I get it. I had to take a break from it because the move was so terrible. But, I'm going to figure it out. If there's a way to do it, I'm going to do it. And then I was going to share one more thing with you, Noah, because I thought it would make you happy. Actually, I asked you about this, but I don't think we talked about it.
What?
I'm going to run a Dungeons and Dragons group every week. I haven't done that in multiple decades. I'm going to have a D&D group nightly in person, and I'm excited about that, so I thought I'd share it.
We have space at Aegis if you want to host. If you want
to, I really want to host it here. I really, really do. Yeah, maybe I'll do it at Aegis, but I really want to do it here. Okay. Final topics, Noah.
My first thing I'll say is you should play any system except D&D.
Is it bad right now?
No, I'm just always been a fan of there's a bunch of systems that I feel like lend themselves to more dynamic stories. Like specifically like the White Wolf rule set, like Vampire and Changeling, specifically Changeling and Mage. And then there's new Arkham Horror.
There's an Arkham Horror RPG?
What?
There's an Arkham Horror RPG?
Yeah, I've got the brand new.
Is it good?
I literally have the brand new book in wrap in my game room right now because I'm going to go through it and we're talking about running a series of one-shots at Aegis. So I don't know, but I hear very good things.
One-shots and forget D&D. Colin likes himself some Lovecraft.
Yeah. So the concept with that is my plan is basically to let people in the community make characters, and then the characters have a general story of like, like let's say it's a dad who is investigating these things because their kid is missing,
Mhm.
and setting it somewhere in the 1950s, late 40s, early 60s, somewhere in that range. Um, and having a bunch of one shots so that when whoever is available, there's like a pretty reasonable understanding of like why they're there. The dad's there because he's following a lead. Some, Billy, who is doing like Stranger Things investigation, like
Yeah.
is like shows up on his bike because they saw a weird signal or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then these people can be thrown together. They still have character progression. They still have dynamic, important character growth, but they're more of a, it's a series of investigations and things in like larger story arcs. And because of how a lot of like usually the rules of that of like physics and science work, it's pretty easy to tie locations together. It's pretty easy to tie people together. It's even possible to tie time frames together. Um, and then you said you like Lovecraft. If you haven't watched it, you should watch The Doom That Came to Gotham.
Oh, Lovecraft and Batman?
Yes, it's
Neat.
literally 19 somewhere between the 30s and the 50s. I think like and in that world there's a expedition to the Antarctic that goes terribly awry, and then things happen, and then there's like a very Lovecraftian story playing out over the course of Gotham.
Okay. All right. Neat. Uh, oh, KR says, coming in late, but we'll catch up. Good luck navigating the huge life changes, Colin. It's definitely not easy. Thank you. As long as you're moving forwards, half the battle is won. Unfortunately, if you only win half the battle, you have also lost half the battle, but I really appreciate the sentiment nonetheless.
I mean, according to differential scoring, that's a tie.
Yeah, it's like the George Carlin quote that I adore. Think of how stupid you think the average American is, and then realize half of everybody is stupider than that person. Which I think this is an incredible. People say the average American is like this derogatory thing, and it's like, no, that's the midway point. We've got like half of our people are under that.
Yeah, don't sell me short. I can go as deep as you want. And then our wonderful friend Seth is in the chat. We love Seth.
Yeah, we do. So I just wanted to just share that that's what's going on, and there's a lot. So Lovecraft, that's intriguing to me. How much does the book cost? $60?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe less so if you have a friend who owns a game store who can get it at a cost.
Okay. Well, that's a weird thing to say publicly in front of everyone, but okay. Yeah. One of the things I want to do, and I don't know how this turns into content, but I think there is value in me running a campaign of an RPG, which is something I did as like my main hobby for a very long time, but it's been decades. I've also written 10,000 pages of creative writing between then and now. That's like where a huge amount of my skill set is. I think there's value in me doing an RPG for the first time and then creating content where not only do I summarize the silly story that's happening for the audience so that they can kind of understand where the story is without having to watch 3 hours of us playing. And then also talking about the takeaways and learnings of me doing a role-playing game for the first time. I think that's interesting. I don't know how it fits in with anything else I'm doing, but that's also something I thought about.
To clarify, Colin, that wasn't me saying you could have it at cost. It was me saying that I can probably figure out a discount if you're going to make content with it. Is what I.
No, I was teasing you. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's what's going on. We'll come back next week. I will tell you what I have decided about Colin's life, because I have a pillow that a friend bought me that says Colin's life is not like regular life. And I think that that's pretty true. I think Noah's life is also not like regular life.
Yeah, I've got a lot going on, man. My life's chaos.
You play all the armies, you have a game store, you work all the time, you have a billion kids that you're a good dad for. Your life is not like regular life. You fit all the things that it's incredible.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's a thing that we'll probably talk about at some point, is I think for some of my mental health, I may have to make some decisions in my older age to pare some things down. I turned 40 this year.
I made a decision that I don't care if my kid takes my PlayStation, whatever the most current one is, 7 or whatever. I decided that I don't care if he takes it to his new home and I don't ever see it again. There was just stuff where I'm like, I don't need to play console games ever again. That'll be fine. Like, console games are cool. Don't need to play them ever again. It'll be okay. I have a PC. I've got 40K. I've got board games. Like, As I get older, that's the thing that's happening for me. I've also noticed I'm watching less TV. Like this is like it just you only have so much time.
Colin, this is relevant to your interests if you haven't already noticed. The Warhammer 40K strategy game that was on the PC. I forgot what that was called. They just released the definitive edition, so you can buy a graphics updated with all of the expansions, Warhammer 40K, real-time strategy game.
Are you talking about the one that's like Civ?
It's the one that's like Red Alert.
Oh, okay. Oh, Dawn of War.
Yeah, it's Dawn of War.
Oh, Dawn of War's a great game.
The definitive edition is out right now on Steam, and you can go and buy it and play upgraded graphics with every expansion and a bunch of tuning and gameplay experience improvements.
For those that did co-op, those are some of those Dawn of War some of the Dawn of War content. I don't think all of it. Some of it's fantastic co-op. Okay, we'll be back next week, everybody. For competitive advantage, he's Noah. What's that, Noah?
Oh, I said bye.
He's Noah. I'm Colin because someone has to be, and boy, is it weird being Colin. We'll be back. Bye, everybody.
Bye.